Hello everybody. First off, I'm trying out a new angle today, a bit more of a top-down look. I think it's going to work better for what I'm talking about today, which is mouse bungees. Although I might go back to the other one for other mouse reviews, I'm not sure. But today I wanted to talk about mouse bungees, because I just 2 days ago picked up the Zowie Camade 2, and I had been using this knockoff Zowie Camade Casethrone bungee for coming up on 2 years now. But I had an Amazon gift card lying around, and I was like, I should probably figure out what the difference is. So first off, things you're going to notice, this one is significantly larger. It's relatively the same size on the base, but it is much taller, and weight-wise, despite missing this big section in the middle, it weighs quite a bit more. Personally, I'd say it probably weighs nearly twice as much as the Casethrone one does. I'm not sure how they do that, but I can shake it, and there's no noise. Here, I'll shake the... I mean, this is the Casethrone one. This is the Zowie one. The shaking thing has nothing to do with quality. I mean, all that is that this spring is rattling around there, but that just shows that it's not like sand that they put in there, because I feel like a lot of similar things, like tape dispensers is something you might put on your desk. A lot of people just put sand in there to weight it down, but there's no sand in here. It is just dense and heavy. Other things you'll notice, the plastic, certainly more premium plastic. It's more soft touch. However, it does pick up fingerprints. Nothing is going to show up on camera, but there's like, it picks up the oils on your fingers. Although it's really not that bad. I mean, you run it over with a microfiber cloth, it's going to look great. And also, it's a mouse bungee, so unless you are swapping mice out incredibly often, you're not going to be touching your mouse bungee that much. So in terms of weight and size, the Zowie Camade is better. The Zowie Camade also has a longer reach on the spring. If I put it down like this, you can see the Zowie Camade has nearly two times as long of a spring. And this just means that, one, it can reach up higher, so you can have your mouse cord coming from higher. It also has more give on the bungee, so if you yoink on the bungee, it has more weight, more distance to go. Another thing, this is actually really, really big, and personally I think that other than the weight, this is the only other reason I would potentially get this one, this one being the Camade, is that it has actual adjustable steps, so it can be midway up, it can be all the way down, it can be all the way up. And the Casethrone kind of just has out or not out. So that's the big feature of the Camade, honestly, is that it does have the adjustable steps. And there's also a lot of friction in here, so like if you want it halfway between halfway and all the way up, you can comfortably do that. And then finally, the last thing to mention when talking about these mouse bungees is how you actually put the cable in there. So if I have my paracord right here, I only put it in at the top and then at the bottom here. And both of these are removed like out from the case, which means that they just fit more comfortably and they're overall kind of better. Whereas if you look at the Casethrone, you have to actually kind of slot it into the casing because there's a little divot in the case. And that's just a really bad implementation, because with the Zowie, you're kind of just sliding it into this little grommet here, whereas on the Casethrone, you're actually putting it into this divot. And then also notice how the divot ends very, very closely to the bottom of the mouse bungee, which means if you are using a stiff cable, if you have like a Logitech braided cable, it's going to be bent at a very tight angle down there, or it's just not going to go in there. So, overall, surprise, surprise, the $25 mouse bungee is better than the $15 mouse bungee. Is it $10 better? I'm not sure. I used this mouse bungee for probably 2 years, and at no point felt like there were things that I needed. However, now that I have this one, I'm certainly never going back. And there are certainly noticeable upsides. I think if you're really strapped for cash, you don't want to spend $25, this one is going to do you just fine. Again, I used it for 2 years, didn't even notice. Oh, I just picked it up and noticed one more thing I forgot to mention. The feet at the bottom you can see these are kind of just pieces of foam, whereas this is like actual high friction rubber. So this mouse bungee just will not slide around. This one will. And this one also, if you get a little bit of dust on the bottom of these, it's gonna really be sliding around. So this one basically just, you plop it on your desk, it's never gonna move. I think that which one you should get kind of relies on how much you need a mouse bungee. If you are a very low sensitivity player like I am, I personally think that the extra $10 is very much worth it on the Zowie Camade 2. But if you just want a thing to hold your cable, this is going to do just fine. However, the actual quality of a bungee is something that's important for me because having the cable much higher is very good for me. Additionally, all this give is really, really nice because I do actually make use of that spring. Because with the paracord, obviously, I don't want to have a whole bunch of slack, because if I do, my mouse is going to go on top of the cord with how much I'm picking up my mouse and moving it, because I do lots of this. So being able to very firmly control how much slack I have, and then being able to use less because the bungee has more give is actually really, really important. And additionally, the fact that it is super solid and is not going to move means that I don't need to worry about pulling the mouse too far and having the bungee going with it. That rarely happened on this. I can think of like 3 times that it did. But it was a thing that I had to consider because there were situations in which I hit like a really hard 180 flick and this just goes flying. And if you think about it, you're not doing really hard 180 flicks unless you like really are in a tense situation. So you really want to have something that in those situations is going to not go somewhere. And then in terms of the aesthetics, they kind of look the same. So I think it just kind of comes down to whether or not you, I guess, how much you value a bungee. If you don't have one right now and you're thinking, if you're debating whether you should buy a bungee, I'd say probably this one. But if you're debating which bungee, I'd say probably this one. So if you're like looking for a bungee enough that you are caring about the pros and cons, this one's definitely the one for you. But if you are just wanting a mouse bungee, this one's probably for you. And then I guess it also comes from like where what you were using before. If you were like a cable taped to the top of your monitor person, this one's probably going to be just fine. But if you're like just getting into PC gaming and you're recognizing that mouse cables are an issue, then you're probably going to want this one. Yeah, so that is basically all I have to say on the matter. If you guys have any questions, as always, I read all the comments. Feel free to ask questions in the comments below. If you prefer the old angle, let me know. If you prefer this one, let me know. And then also, I have a video idea coming up on Jonak's mouse setup, which coincidentally is also like the mouse setup for like half the Overwatch League Flex Sport players. But yeah, so expect that within like a week or so. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you guys later.